Welcome to the Spectators Podcast. Here are your hosts, Corey and Jeff.
Well, welcome everybody to episode 24 of the Spectators Podcast. My name is Jeff, and to my video and mic adjacent is Corey. Corey, you're wearing another new hat today.
It's not a new hat. It's my fiance's hat. I had to go and dip into her pile to get a different hat today. So it is another Vegas hat, but yeah, it is another hat on the podcast. I'm gonna try to stay true to this as much as possible and wear a different hat every episode as far as I can go.
Well, it's like that thing when you buy a used vehicle. It's a new to me, so it's a new to me hat because I have never seen it before. So
it's one of those things. I'm gonna try to pull it as long as I almost did a hair reveal today, and I'm gonna wait it out.
Yeah, I was saying to you, I've got some gray in my hair, so
I found a
but
white
it's covered.
beard hair today. One long white beard hair today. So
did you keep it?
No, I lost it.
That could have been your friend.
Mm-hmm.
It's so sad. But yeah, the sports world's a little bit more crazy than I thought it would be. But so there's lots going on in professional wrestling. I do want to get to that, and we actually, I think, a little bit want to get to the Marvel Universe today. But I did want to briefly touch on Jonathan Huberdeau's massive extension with the Calgary Flames. So what were your thoughts on the 8x10.5 per year?
Well, I'm happy for
contract.
I'm happy for the Flames. I mean, they lost Gaudreau being one of their best players, right? And with him coming in, they offered him more than Gaudreau, or about the same as what they offered Gaudreau.
I think it was like the exact same contract.
Right.
If
okay. Okay. But he's making more than Gaudreau now because Gaudreau took less money in
Columbus,
right? At least yearly.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, he's a great player. I really like Jonathan Huberdeau. I think, he can really bring some vigor to that team. And I think the fresh face on the team might be a good thing for them. They've had Johnny Gaudreau for a really long time. A while. And Matthew Tkachuk. So it'll be a little bit of a fresh team, some new chemistry to get built and everything, but they have him long term. So I'm glad they didn't just sign him and then he re-signs with someone else next year for nothing. So it's good for them. And I think he's getting paid a little more than I would have expected, to be honest, but still fair. He still is one of the best players in the league at this time. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, it's like interesting. I think how I see the negotiation is Jonathan Huberdeau went to Brad Treliving and said, "Well, I know you were going to pay Johnny 10.5. My name is Jonathan. Like, if you pay me 10.5, you can call me Johnny if you want." Brad's like, "Oh, great, let's do it." I think it's so. I have two minds on this one. One. But yeah, I think it's good for Calgary to lock up Huberdeau because it made the Tkachuk trade even more valuable, right? Because now they've kept him, right? And he didn't walk next year, because like you can tell Calgary's not in rebuild mode. They're in we're gonna be in win now mode.
They want to be a contender again for sure.
Yeah. So and apparently they're working. They're grinding. They got Mangiapane signed and Shillington signed. I think those are their two big RFAs. So they're signed as well. I think to 3 and 2 year deals, 3 for Mangiapane and 2 for Shillington. So the one person left is Uyghur, and it sounds like that's going to get done. So really, they're going to lock up the two guys they traded for. So that's fantastic. On the flip side, though, I'm a little surprised. Signing a guy you just traded for to 8 years, I think, is a little risky. And why I say that is like you're basing your evaluation of this player from the outside, right? You haven't had the play like Florida had the player since being drafted, so they know him very well. And Calgary is evaluating Huberto from the outside, from what they've seen. I'm sure they've talked to coaches and stuff, right? But they haven't had him long term. So I think that is a big risk in signing. So like he hasn't even gone to the locker room yet, right? And I'm not saying Huberto is a problem or anything like that. I just think it's really interesting to lock up a guy for that long, max term, which is 8 years in the NHL. It's as long as you can go, and 10.5 million. I mean, I think he turns 30 when the deal starts, so he'll be 38 when this. And maybe he turns 29. Anyways, he'll be 37, 38, making 10 and a half, right? It's mostly signing bonus, but my other thought too was I think Calgary had to overpay for him to stay, because I think of what we discussed a few podcasts ago, and that Calgary, Huberto is going to come out and say that Calgary is a world class city and all that garbage. No one not even people in Calgary would say Calgary is a world class city. I know we hate on Alberta a lot on this podcast, so if you're from Alberta, we apologize. But like I said, like they don't have the best facilities. They don't like I don't know what their training staff's like, right? So I think there's a bit of overpay here to keep Huberto, because he was in Florida, right? I mean,
he didn't necessarily want to leave Florida too, right? That was the consensus. Is
no,
he
he
didn't
wanted to
want
sign a
leave
long-term
Florida.
extension with them.
I wonder if
And
there's some sort of stipulation when they sign him to the contract. There's also like empty promises, and I shouldn't say empty promises, but like maybe there's promises of like we are going to upgrade some of our facilities and things are going to get better in the future, like, and they're trying to wean him in that way. I don't know.
Even then, it doesn't really matter. Like I think they had to pay an extra million on the contract, because I think the contract that Kachuk signed, I think, was probably similar to what they were probably going to do with Huberto, right? 8 times 9.5. I can certainly see Calgary having to pay the extra million to convince him to stay, just because of the reasons we've discussed, with the outdated facilities, right, and ownership not necessarily wanting to put money into the team. Other than, I shouldn't say that. I mean, they did just let him sign an $80 million contract, or no, more than that, right? Corey's the math guy in the podcast, not me. But yeah, anyways, somewhere in the 80 million area. But so yeah, I wonder, like I feel it's a bit of an overpay, because if you look at the winger market, it's going pretty dry. I mean, like look, if the Canucks can't really find a decent deal for Miller, like Pacioretty got given away plus an asset, right? I mean, Huberto was added into this deal, right? If Huberto was a center, there's no way he would have been. It would have been Uyghur, a prospect, and a first. That still would have been a good return for Kachuk. But just wait. I mean, Kachuk's an outlier. He is a winger, but he plays a very unique style that sort of makes him an outlier in this conversation. I mean, look at DeBrincat, right? DeBrincat didn't go for much, right? It's just 3 picks, right? Higher picks. I mean, Doc was a center, but I mean, Chicago's a bit of an outlier because they're just looking for a deal. But yeah, like for me, I think it's a bit of an overpay. Like he's a fantastic player, don't get me wrong. I do think, yeah, probably in the first 3 years of that contract, he'll probably be a 10.5 million player, but not into his late third. No, and I think these are the things. I mean, the Canucks did it with Luongo, but very obviously in a way that exploded the CBA as a backdiving contract, right? Which those contracts aren't allowed anymore. Yeah. But you see this, right, where convince the player to stay, they'll pay them for their prime seasons all the way into their past prime seasons, right? So we'll see. I mean, if Calgary wins a cup, I'm sure you could argue it was worth it, and you just have to deal with the consequences on the back end. I mean, you could probably LTIR that contract probably down the road when he gets into his late 30s. Kind of like what they're like a Shea Weber, kind of like that situation.
Because it's a tough contract to trade later on. You got to imagine, like, let's say he's 4 or 5 years into that deal, so he's got 3 years left on that term at $10.5 million. A team's not going to necessarily want to pay him $10.5 million a year for his 35th, 36th, 37th, 38th birthday, honestly. And then you have that other situation of, okay, well, let's say we do trade him later on, and then there's talk about that. They're going to have to retain a lot of the salary, at least probably, to at least half, maybe even a little less. But yeah, it's still a big chunk of salary that they would have to retain for him to be traded, probably.
The other piece too that I think is important to see how Huberto adjusts is going from the Eastern Conference to the Western Conference, right? That's a very different style.
Very
Now,
style,
Goodrow is smaller than Huberto and was just as successful, but that's going to be an adjustment, and I wonder what that's going to look like when you have a line of Elias Lindholm, Andrew Mangiapane, and Jonathan Huberdeau. Not the biggest guys, right? Like, at least on the Kachuk line, you had someone like Kachuk who could stand up for his teammates, right? So we will, and the Pacific is a big like you've got LA, Vancouver's not necessarily, mind you, it's more of if you think of the Pacific now, it's more of actually a skill than tough, because it used to be LA, Anaheim, and San Jose, big tough teams that you'd have to get through, specifically LA. But I guess that's actually changing now that I think about it. But still, it's another thing that I'm like, the contract makes me wonder, right? Because he hasn't ever played in the Western Conference, or the travel schedule, because from the Florida travel schedule is way better than a Calgary travel schedule. Not as bad as Vancouver. Vancouver, and I think
Seattle would be hard too.
Yeah, the worst, right? Because they're just on the furthest away, right? So we'll see. It's a really interesting trade. It's a really interesting trade overall. I think this is a trade, and these signings are something that you can debate for years to come. So it'd be really fascinating to keep an eye on it.
I'm really curious, honestly, to see what kind of, like, even just in the first year, I want to see what kind of impact he's going to have on the team in a few different ways. How's his style going to be different, impacting the team being from the Eastern to now Western Conference? He has to adjust, and maybe his game style will change a little bit. It might even be better. You never know. Secondary, what kind of point percentage is he going to put up? Like, how many points is he going to be able to put up? How is his goals going to be? And third is, what kind of leadership is he going to bring to the locker room? I think those are three things that I would look for. Can you refresh my memory here? But I don't recall who's the captain on the Calgary Flames right now.
I don't know if they have one. You're gonna I can't. It's funny you asked this question, because I was thinking the other day,
about it for a couple days.
Because it was Giordano, but I don't.
It was Giordano, but I don't know if they replaced the captaincy after he left. I certainly know that Goodrow didn't make the cut. I know that.
No.
Did Matthew Tkachuk get named captain? No. Okay.
So I would say
they probably don't. They probably did that whole, like, 3 or 4 assistant captains kind of deal, like Vegas did before they signed a captain. I wonder if they see a good amount of leadership from Jonathan Huberdeau, if that's something that ponders in their mind later on.
They don't have one.
Right.
Yeah, they don't have one.
So I do wonder if he could be considered captain material later on. They're thinking something like this.
You know what's fascinating about that is a guy who I bet you Flames fans thought would have been captain would have been Sean Monahan. And then his game just fell right off. And literally he got injured, but he wasn't even in the picture for the Flames in the playoffs. But that's interesting. So yeah, I guess which makes sense. I understand why they wouldn't make Tkachuk or Goodrow captain, because they weren't sure if they were going to stay. And
right.
I think that was a right call.
And now
right?
they have an 8-year deal with Huberdeau. Maybe they are considering. Maybe that's something they've had conversation about. I don't know. Or maybe they're saying, hey, Jonathan, go out there, prove yourself. If you can show good leadership, we'll give you the C. Maybe some of those stipulations are involved in negotiations here. I don't know.
Well,
and I know he wants his number, but I think I want to say it's Mikhail Backlund who has his number right now, 11.
11. Yeah, he's gonna be number 10. He's going to be number 10.
Okay.
Well, since they're the Calgary Canucks, as we've discussed before, they should just make Markstrom the captain.
I was just going to say, why not make Markstrom the captain, right?
That seemed to work out really well in Vancouver.
Oh, absolutely.
So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. But did want to touch on the professional wrestling world, because it's not just WWE right now. AEW is also heating up like crazy. So interestingly enough, I watched WWE this week. You watched AEW this week. So you and I actually have watched both. So how was AEW this week when it came to matches, and how'd you feel? Do you feel excited for this upcoming week of shows?
Yeah, I mean, I watched both Dynamite and Rampage. Dynamite always typically starts out with a bang. I find that the difference between WWE and AEW, you do typically just start and get into the action, and I do like that. So there's not a lot of like promotions or talking and whatever in the beginning. Another good turnout this week. Jon Moxley defended his title again. That
was Friday, right on Rampage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jon Moxley goes so often that I feel like he probably would defend on Wednesday and Friday at this point, just because they're just trying to get him to defend. I'm just curious of what direction they're going to go in. They're going in a completely different route than WWE. Like, I don't think I've ever seen like an interim title in the WWE. I think it's normally like if someone's injured, they just kind of hold on to the title, or they have to relinquish the title completely. But it sounds like this situation, like the interim title, whoever's holding on to it at the time when CM Punk does return, he will face off against CM Punk to become the undisputed title. So I think that's really good. It's kind of similar to like how UFC would do things, which is really credible. I think it's cool. But this week we also had outside of Dynamite, we also had the AEW Battle of the Belts yesterday. So it was a quick little blurb of 3 different title belts being defended. One was the AEW women's title. One was the ROH heavyweight title. And then I'm trying to recall what the third
Claudio has that one?
title. Yeah, Claudio was that one. Oh, and then the TNT title as well. So Wardlow faced off against Jay Lethal, and all titles were defended yesterday. So all the current champions defended and retained their titles. But it was a good little extra card for AEW. I think we've been blessed to have the chance to get somewhat like pay-per-view events from AEW that have been free. They've been televised, which is awesome. And next week on Monday was a good match because we had Jericho last Friday told Wheeler Yuta, who's also part of the Combat Club with Jon Moxley, that he'll give up his contender match if Yuta can beat him on Wednesday. And Yuta didn't beat him. Jericho won and really sent a message to Moxley of how aggressive he could be. Held Yuta in the walls of Jericho for quite a long time, honestly. And then, Moxley came out and Jericho got out of the ring. But, I think it's going to be a good match. I think you're going to see an aggressive side of Jericho and probably blood, because Moxley seems to always like to have blood in his matches. I think every match he has, he gets busted open. But honestly, it'll be a good match. I think this may mean it could go either way, but I think AEW is not necessarily stern on keeping Moxley the champion as the interim champion. So I think we may see a title change. We may see Jericho win it, whether he wins it on his own or the JAS come out and help him somehow distract Moxley. But I think we could see him hold on to it a little bit. One of the things that I think is important is that rivalry from the past between Jericho and Punk, and I think that could set up for a good Punk return to have that match.
It sounds like Punk's out for a while too. They were hoping he'd come back in September, but they said probably not till November. I think they have another pay-per-view coming up, but he's out for a bit for sure.
He's out for a bit, which is fine. I think we're getting good television. I mean, look at the 2 products we have. We have AEW, who Moxley, whatever, if it's Jericho who has the title, I'm sure he's going to be defending it a lot, but we've been seeing the title get defended. Whereas we have another product, we have Reigns, who never shows up on TV and doesn't defend his title, which if it was another champion, there would be somebody who would defend it, I would say. But I think it's going to be a good Wednesday. I think it's going to be a good week of wrestling, and I have kept up with WWE a little bit. I didn't watch it, but I did keep up with what was going on. But what was your take on this week of the Raw and SmackDown? Like, what did you think?
Well, both shows were entertaining, I have to say. Even SmackDown, like the SmackDown shows, was actually the best I've seen in the 5 months I've been watching, which makes sense. Like really, this week was showing you that it's going to be different, right? Longer matches. I mean, on Monday, I don't know if we discussed this or not, but on Monday they went the first hour without commercials because there was so much going on. You saw pushes of guys that have been previously buried, and like folks like Ciampa. And for me on Friday, Ricochet, he got the opening
got some
match.
TV time.
And fuck, did he like kill it? Like, he was incredible.
Who did he face off against again?
Baron Corbin.
Baron Corbin, right?
And like I didn't know Corbin's 6'7" too. I didn't know like
Yeah.
we're like it's just interesting how like like a guy like Omos who's a giant, right? But I mean like McIntyre and Corbin are both 6'7" and they don't really like feature that. It's like they're still super tall. Like
WWE doesn't feature a giant unless they're like 7 foot plus, like Big
yeah.
Show or like Omos, Randy, Andre the Giant, things like that. So
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, and you look at AEW, only really has one massive guy, and that's Satnam Singh. And I think he's 7'2" or 7'3". But other than that,
Jesus.
like, there's not really a lot of talent on that roster because Tony seems to give talent more chances. Like, if they're smaller talent, he'll give them more of a
Hmm.
chance. So I do like to see that, but I do like to see, like, WWE has such massive giants on their roster,
Yeah.
too. They just don't consider some of them.
So and I think for me, and I know you're skeptical, and I think you're rightly skeptical. What I really want to discuss is I legitimately see a path. I saw it a little bit at for SummerSlam, but it wasn't necessarily there. Now I legit see a path where the bloodline will end at Clash, and I'll explain why I think. So on Friday night was where I said to you, like, if like SmackDown tonight that they it was announced that Reigns was coming, and I was like, okay, like Friday night SmackDown, we're gonna see the path, right? Or we're either gonna see the path to nothing's gonna happen, and we're gonna see the bloodline continue, or we might see some signs that maybe bloodline will be in trouble. So on the tag title side, most of the most of the promos were cut backstage with Sami Zayn. He's back, and he was trying to congratulate Roman for his win, but the Usos kept like, "Oh no, go do this, go do that," and then eventually, Jay snapped on him and got really mad at him and was like really disrespectful to him. And Sami Zayn's the kind of guy where you see him. He's what do they call him? The world's smartest wrestler or whatever, right?
Something like that.
I certainly so. This is where the first path I see is that they're going to upset him enough that whatever match they have at Clash, he will screw over the Usos because he can play a heel, right? And if Jimmy and Jay keep upsetting him, which I know before he went off TV, wasn't there like a tag match and they just left him in the ring? Wasn't it
Something
against
like that.
Riddle or something?
Something
Yeah,
like that, yeah.
like they've been really abusing him. So I'm wondering. So where I see the hole is that maybe Zayn's gonna have enough. And there's some also rumblings that Owens might get involved with Zayn. I don't think they're talking at Clash, like because what I see is I see the Vikings taking on the Usos. Because they're really pushing the Vikings now. Like they're feuding with New Day, but like really, like New Day's not going to beat the Vikings, right? I think also they injured, and I'm using air quotes again for those on the audio side. What's the name of? It's Kofi Kingston. Who's
Xavier
the other?
Woods. Yeah,
Thank you.
didn't they put a chair on his ankle or something and they smashed his ankle.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think at one point, I was annoying. It was one of those WWE roll up moments where Kofi had a singles match against one of the Vikings, and eventually he got distracted and he rolled up. He rolled up and won against the other. I don't know the name of the Vikings.
Oh, Eric and Ivar. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was Ivar. Like he was fighting Ivar, and then it was interesting because like I think the men's tag side is so weak. The Vikings just fought jobbers. I thought that was really interesting. I didn't know they were at that level, but maybe they're not jobbers. I didn't know who they were, and they just manhandled them. I'm thinking of at some point the Vikings are gonna have to face the Usos because there's just nobody else, right? So how I see the crack there is that wasn't really there. Like Zayn was so loyal to them no matter how they treated him, and the bloodline wasn't as bad to him, but now they're being really bad. So that's my one area, and then of course Roman. At first, I saw the update that is it Kieran Cross? Is that how you say it?
Oh, Carrion Cross. Yeah.
Carrion, thank you. That Cross came back and he attacked McIntyre. I saw that on my feed. I was like, oh, I can't wait to watch. I was like, what is that? At first, I thought, oh, great. He's with Roman now, and then eventually he's just going to cheat and help Roman win at Clash. However, so Drew came out So like, Roman was talking, doing his usual like acknowledge me, blah blah blah, and then Drew came out. I'm not sure if you saw this. Drew came out and called him the tribal queef, which I thought that was hilarious. That was awesome. So I'm really enjoying the fact that H is letting them, just do what
Speak
they
their
kind of
mind.
want on the mic. Yeah, like it's quite nice actually, because there was a thing that WWE posted on Twitter. Of Roman holding both belts and then Becky holding both belts, and they're like, "Who did it better?" And then Becky responded on Twitter saying, "Like me, because I actually showed up." So that was pretty funny. So yeah, so then Drew's like, I'm gonna beat you and stuff, and then Cross's music hits, but it's Scarlett, I think is her name, is the one person he's with.
Yeah.
It's just standing at the entrance, and then the screen actually went black and white, which was really interesting. And then all of a sudden Cross came out of nowhere and attacked Drew, and I was like, oh god, like here we go, just some reason for Drew to for Roman to retain. And then so he attacks Drew and takes him out, and then he turns around, and I don't know Cross's story yet. So, but Scarlett comes up with a hourglass and puts it in the ring, and then flips it up, and then both of them stare at Roman, basically saying like,
It's
time's gonna
time,
be
yeah.
up. Yeah, time's gonna be up. So I got super excited. And maybe this has happened before with Roman's reign. Roman's title reign, I should probably Roman Reigns. So the guys like Theory say, "Oh, Theory is a theory about now reign, title reign, Roman reign." There's too many similar names with what we talk about, but I just see that as, and the other rumor is that they're going to have Cross involved in the title challenge somehow. I don't know if it's going to be a clash, but so like this is just they're sowing the seeds for me of a potential loss. The other thing is too is this is an unconfirmed rumor, but I've been seeing a little rumblings of it that USA Network has approached WWE and said, we want the WWE Championship on TV. Like, we are paying a ton of money for you guys, and we can't even produce a champion. Because if you look at this week, for example, Roman wasn't on Raw; he was on SmackDown.
Yeah, he
Right?
hasn't been on Raw for a while. They said that he like out of
Madison Square Garden.
since he won both titles at WrestleMania. I think they said he's only been on
Been on
Raw
Raw
maybe
twice.
Twice, yeah.
Twice. It was the day after WrestleMania, and then it was Madison Square Garden. That was the only two times he's been on Raw, and he's the WWE champion. So that's an unconfirmed rumor, but I've seen it sort of talked about with multiple people. So we'll see, right? And we know we've discussed that the networks do have some say in kind of what goes on. I don't think they push as much in the creative side, but I'm sure they're pretty ticked off that it's like, well, you gave Roman the belts and he's never been on Raw, like, so that's pretty irritating. So cautiously optimistic, but I do start to say I am seeing this path where Roman actually loses, hope if not both, one somehow. Whether it's he fights Cross at Clash and he beats Cross, and then he goes and fights Drew, and then Cross screws over Reigns and he loses a belt of some sort. I don't know, but I mean, it might have to be the WWE Championship if we read the tea leaves here. There's that, but overall, I think the shows were really good. Like, they're very exciting. I'm really, really enjoying the fact that H is pushing the women's division. The gauntlet match was really good. I'm extremely excited for Shayna Baszler. She won the gauntlet match. She's going to face Liv, which will be great. I don't know how Ronda fits into this. If she's even going to be there, they might just say, you know what, you've given us some good runs. Why don't you take a break? Because I mean, like, Baszler's kind of like Rousey if you think about it, but at least Baszler has some NXT experience, right? So I think she can really work with Liv, and hopefully have a better match at Clash. Although I don't know if you saw this, but because the Logan Paul match went longer than it was expected, they actually cut the women's match, the co-main event at SummerSlam. Yeah, I saw that. So I'm wondering if maybe that's why it was a bit more clunky than maybe they were thinking. So there's that. I mean, it still wasn't a very good match, right? But anyways, so yeah, no. So I'm excited for tomorrow because the other big thing was they announced a tournament for the women's tag belts, so they're bringing them back. So I'm wondering, does that mean Sasha and Naomi are returning? The other thing is Bray's name keeps popping up as well. H is really pushing to bring back more talent, which I think is interesting, because I've discussed like they have a lot of folks in the roster already. Can you really bring back more talent? But yeah, so I'm excited to see how this goes up until Clash. That's for sure.
Yeah, so honestly, I think like you got some good points. Like it's really exciting what they're doing. They're bringing back some new characters, and I don't know if you're like super familiar with Carrion Cross. I'm not even that familiar myself. Um, I'll say this. What I do know about Carrion Cross, which is interesting, is he had a good NXT run. To my understanding, he was NXT champion. He did his whole run. He had his reign. And then they did bring him up briefly onto Raw. I don't remember what point he was brought up. But what I do remember is him and Scarlett got brought up. And they were briefly thrown into a few matches. And he didn't really make much of an impact. He wasn't really an exciting character. Like, a lot of people liked his NXT run, but as soon as he got to WWE, as soon as he got up to Raw, he just, and I call this probably a Vince McMahon thing. He probably didn't like him very much. He didn't do a whole lot. And then he was unfortunately part of that big release of all of those superstars who got released last year. Midway through last year, where we lost a lot of talent. He did some independent stuff. I checked his Instagram and stuff. I could see he did some independent stuff in the meantime, and I think he got himself back up. But now with Triple H back in reign of creative, I think there was that opportunity for Carrion Cross, because I think Triple H really liked him. So let's bring it back in. What I'm hearing is their idea is to have him inserted into that match at Clash. I don't know how I feel about it, but at this point,
it makes sense. So why they would do that probably is so that Reigns can lose the belt but not get pinned.
Oh.
So Drew will pin Kross,
or
and then
one
Reigns.
Or the other,
yeah. I think Drew's gonna win. You can't. He has to have for I think Clash to be successful. In my mind, Drew has to walk away with something, right? It doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Anyways, because I did see that theory of he'll get inserted that way. Reigns can lose the belts but not get pinned, because he hasn't been pinned in like 3 years or something crazy like that. Yeah,
well,
so keep that streak going.
Another theory that I heard too is that it ties into the whole USA Network wanting the one belt on Raw, and they had said that the potential is that Roman will just lose one of his belts, being the WWE title. So maybe Carrion Cross will win that title and move it over to Raw. That was kind of what some of the speculation is. Now, I don't know if that means that Roman would hold on to the Universal title, or somehow, what's his name, Drew would get the Universal title. I don't know how this is going to work, or how this or maybe Roman is going to get thrown into two matches at Clash of the Castle. Maybe he'll get thrown into two separate matches because you think about storyline, like, how can you have a triple threat match and split the titles up? It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But if, he gets challenged by two people, one for each belt, Roman and Paul might be like, oh, well, if we lose, we can still keep one. And then he ends up losing both of them. And then that way where we have one title on each. So I don't know what route they're going to go to, but I've decided I think I'm going to watch Clash. And there's a reason why I think I'm really excited to watch Clash.
My boy.
Yesterday, John Cena...
Oh, right, yeah.
announced that he was at the Comic-Con in Wales, in Cardiff, Wales. And he said that he wanted to announce that he's going to be in attendance, and he's going to be the opening act at Cardiff, Wales, WWE. I don't know what that means.
A match, I wonder?
Is he going to be the first match of the card? Is he going to be there to talk? I don't know. But he's going to be there at Clash of the Castle, at Cardiff, Wales. And he did say there's still lots of tickets left, so he's trying to they're trying to promote ticket sales. My curiosity is, because an event like this, you got to think about it. Like Cardiff, Wales, they haven't been there. They haven't been in the UK for a pay-per-view for 30 years or something.
Yeah,
you'd think
30 years.
You'd think that they would be able to sell tickets pretty easily, because the fans there might be like, well, when the next time we come back.
Yeah, right? AEW is pretty popular out there, though.
Yeah, but AEW is pretty popular out there. But my thought is, if John Cena may be potentially coming back for a feud against Theory, or maybe he'll be thrown into a match or a one-off match or something like that, or he's literally there to promote the event. I don't really know, but yeah, it is exciting. But now that we speak of Theory, I just have something that came to mind this week, and with what happened at SummerSlam with Theory, and he kind of just cashed in unsuccessfully. He's been completely off the radar for the last week, and unfortunately, we did hear this week he did lose his uncle during that time, SummerSlam. I think he lost him on the SummerSlam day. So,
oh jeez.
And he was really close with his uncles, so it was one that hit him hard. So it's potential that they're just giving him some time off and just away from the business for a little bit. I could see Stephanie and Paul doing that.
Because Dolph wasn't there either on Monday.
But Dolph
he was,
but
he was there. Sorry, he was in the triple threat match.
Right, he was involved
that Ciampa won.
I wonder in this case, like, is there going to be any more storyline with Dolph and Theory, or are they done with it? I've heard that there's rumors that potentially they may have those two clash at some point. Maybe at Clash, I don't know. But they may have a match, which is one thing. But they also might potentially have a match for that Money in the Bank briefcase, either or for it or not. I feel like they put too much time into having him mess with Theory that they've got to do something with it. Like they have to have some sort of feud or something, right?
Yeah, I actually see. Funny enough, that we're talking about like future matches. I actually see Ciampa beating Lashley on Monday, and why I think that is, I think Ciampa will get it because we saw how the Miz reacted when Logan Paul won at WrestleMania, right? He turned on because he didn't like the fanfare. So I can certainly see like Ciampa beating Lashley, and then like I don't know, cut a promo for like a little bit, and then Lashley faces him at Clash. He'll get it back, but like in that time, the Miz will turn on Ciampa, like he did Paul.
Okay, so he turns on Ciampa, and then we see like maybe a Ciampa Miz match at Clash, or even
something like that. Yeah,
or maybe
like,
even a Miz and Lashley match at
maybe
Clash,
like something like that, because like
yeah.
because like I get this like eerie feeling that because I know Ciampa's been attached to Miz for a while, but I know like it's his character is that if someone's getting more fanfare than him, he doesn't like it.
Yeah.
So I can certainly see like Ciampa like sort of holding on to the U.S. Championship for a bit, just to like give him that pop and stuff, and then obviously Lashley will win it back. And then like somehow the Miz and Ciampa start feuding. Maybe like he'll attack Ciampa and challenge him for the U.S. title. He'll lose or something. I don't know. Like it because I that's the only essence I would be okay with Lashley losing the belt. Is sort of see this Miz and Ciampa feud, because I think I was like a good like heel turn, or not heel. I mean, Miz is already a heel, but like a good like betrayal.
Betrayal, yeah.
I'm all about the betrayals. Yeah, no. So wrestling world is very exciting. It's gonna be a really cool week for wrestling, and I can't wait for September 3rd. I'm actually really, really excited for Clash, especially because like they're pushing it. Like, has Shayna Baszler been to a main event in a while, or like being in a singles match in a main event for that matter?
I don't think she's ever been main eventing. Other than maybe what she did in NXT, I do believe she was an NXT champion.
She was, yes.
I don't think she's done anything main event level in WWE. I want to say she may have won the tag titles or been involved in that picture with Natalya, was her tag partner. But I don't know. She's never won a WWE title. I know that for sure. And I've wanted her to for a while. I was kind of hoping that she would get involved with Ronda when Ronda was the champion, but this might be an interesting take on things, because I feel Liv got kind of lucky with winning over Ronda on the storyline, right? Like she pinned
fans
her.
Gave it to her on Friday too, so I'm sure the fans feel that same way.
Apparently I don't know who it was, but apparently there was a superstar in the back who was criticizing the fans for the reaction over Liv.
The talent wasn't happy that the fans turned on her. That's for sure.
it whatever. I mean, the fans are interesting sometimes with that kind of stuff, and that wasn't. I wouldn't boo Liv. I think storyline, everything kind of turned out perfectly. I mean, on paper, Liv doesn't really make sense to beat Ronda anyways, so it's like it's a good way for her to kind of survive and get out, and she still retains the title. But like, I don't see her retaining against
Shayna. No,
there's no way,
because I can see Shayna going up against Ronda, because that seems like that's a better matchup.
That's what I'm thinking. So I'm thinking maybe Shayna wins at Clash. It's at Clash, right? The title shot is at Clash. Okay, so she wins at Clash, and then Ronda's out of her her suspension and all of that, and
air
then
quotes again.
air quotes suspension, and then Ronda returns and then challenges Shayna.
Who's the heel in that situation then? Because isn't Shayna also a heel?
Well, they are. They are both heels. That is a good point.
I can't do Ronda as a face anymore.
Could we potentially see WWE break their golden rule and do a heel versus heel? Could we possibly see something like that? Because we don't get to see that very often, a face versus face or a heel versus heel. So I think that would be interesting to see that. But I would say probably with the fact that Ronda just heel turned, then Shayna would somehow probably go into a face character. I would say.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense for them to do a face because like H has talked a lot about like storylines being important, and like he likes. This is why I'm excited, because like he said he's really about like letting a story develop, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
right?
no, of course.
So like and I'm seeing, that's why I'm so excited for this Kross thing, right? Because this is a new story, and I really feel like it's like, I think of a guy like Riddle, for example, under the like when Randy went out. Like, he was just getting, like, odd tag matches and stuff, and he kept feuding with the Usos. Like, it just didn't feel right. Whereas, like, I feel like H is really going to, like, especially now with the women's division and this new faction that's done with Io Sky, Dakota Kai, and Bayley. Like, I feel like that's going to be a really cool story. I was actually hoping they would show up to the gauntlet match and just destroy everybody, because it just would have been cool, but it makes sense. Like, I also think really H is really about the brand split, because I haven't seen a lot of talent cross over since it's only been a week. It's only been a week, right? Because the shows before Slam were
Vince approved
by Vince, right?
Even the Monday show apparently was still approved by Vince. So
even then, there wasn't any SmackDown talent at that show. So that'll be an interesting theme to see too, because I do keep seeing rumblings of the draft coming back. I'm not sure if they're going to, because I think it was supposed to be slated for August, right? But I'm wondering if they're going to push it till after Clash, because then Extreme Rules is in October. So I can see them sort of. From what I can see is H wants to like bring back a lot of people, get both rosters full at a good place, because I think Mandy Rose is also going to come up from NXT.
I think NXT's event is coming up this weekend, right? Or next weekend, maybe. It's somewhere around like August. Maybe it's next weekend, like August 15th or something like that. I don't remember, but I know NXT does have an event, takeover event, and I'm guessing she's probably gonna drop her belt at that point, and she'll come up after that. I'm guessing.
Hopefully the SmackDown, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
And then, like, I'm hoping that like once that happens, we have Clash, and then they'll hopefully have a draft, and they can really start to build excitement. There's Extreme Rules in there, but really build excitement for Survivor Series. Because then we can actually have one, especially if the belts are split, the top belts, right? Because then like, this is the thing, is I actually quite like Roman. I like him as a champion. I just wish he was there more, right? Yeah. Because juxtaposed to AEW, and even the women's division, right, with the Belair and Liv and Ronda, like they were every single pay-per-view basically they were defending a belt, whereas Roman doesn't, right? And again, they signed the contract with him, so you can't blame Roman.
No, you can't blame him, of course. No, I agree with you, and I think like we do got to see some changes. We've talked about this for a while, but I think one of the things that scared me with the whole Carrion Cross thing coming in was like, we've seen Vince do moves like that before, where he just puts somebody in randomly and there's no storyline development to it, where that's not always fun either. It's not good to have somebody just kind of thrown in and there's no story behind them, because then it's not as credible and it's not believable. But they have a few more weeks left. They could really go further with this and potentially now the confusing part is like Carrion is also a heel from what it sounds like. But maybe he's not. I don't know. They haven't really given us enough. But it sounds like he's a heel.
It looks like he'd be, especially if he like
He's
takes
attacking
out
the face.
Yeah, and then I mean, like, but I think that's fine, right? Because he's just saying like, Roman, your time is up, right?
Yeah.
Like, I want you, based. So I think that's real. Like you said, maybe they'll break it and then they'll do heel versus heel, which I think is awesome. I mean, why not?
I'd
right?
love
like,
to see Roman stuck in 2 matches at Clash and have to fight Drew and fight
I mean,
Carrion.
he did the last man standing match. I can't see why he couldn't do 2 regular matches, right? 15, 20 minutes each. Like he did a 35-minute where he got the absolute crap beat out of him.
Yeah.
Like literally lifted out of the ring. I don't see how Roman. And he's not going to be he'll probably wrestle maybe once or twice before Clash, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure he's scheduled probably closer to Clash, right? Like he did with SummerSlam, right? But and then actually they're coming to Canada actually this month. Raw's August 22nd show is in Toronto, I think.
And then I think SmackDown is in Montreal.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
I know they're coming to Montreal too. Yeah.
So that'd be cool. It'd be cool to have them in Canada. Okay, because and I know Owens and Zayn are from that area. So
that's going to be a big show on the Canadian talent. Those two, like I'm sure we'll see. You know, Natalia will be out. We'll see Kevin Owens be in the Montreal show. Sami Zayn will be there. We'll see as much Canadian talent highlighted as possible because they want to sell tickets, right? I hear Roman's supposed to be at both shows, so I don't know.
Oh yeah. He's scheduled for a lot of the live events.
The live events in Canada, yeah.
Too, which I think because they haven't been in Canada for a couple of years because of COVID, I think they want to like get the fans back, which makes sense, especially because AEW is also going to Canada, I think, in October.
Yes, they're going to Toronto for 2 nights in a row, actually, which is really cool. They've never done a 2-night show in a row, and it's not a pay-per-view, so you know Chris Jericho is going to be really highlighted on that one. That's why I think another reason why he might win the titles on Wednesday, because I think they'll want to have him walk in into Canada and Toronto as champion. But they have a lot of Canadian talent. They got a lot of talent from Ontario, a couple from Vancouver and stuff like that. So yeah, that'll be interesting. But speaking of storylines, speaking of Triple H's whole idea about having long-term developed storylines, there's a great storyline opportunity here that they could do. And that's with this brand split. You know, we need a brand split. I think it'll be better with a brand split, but we need general managers, and who are going to be general managers? Well, we have a really good feud going on between Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville.
Oh, Sonya Deville,
and who both had put time in as officials and general managers and etc. And Adam Pearce is still doing his due diligence with all of that. I really wonder if that could be something they could roll into, and we have like a really good competitive Raw versus SmackDown leading into.
She still hates Adam.
She still hates him, right? So like, let's say he's the Raw general manager, and we have her as the SmackDown general manager, and we have like a really heavily feuded from the top down kind of Raw versus SmackDown approach. I think that would be really cool. You know, you have like a Drew versus Lashley maybe, or maybe they're setting something up for Drew as the SmackDown title, and Carrion Cross as the Raw title, and they're gonna clash at Survivor Series.
Belts on the line in those matches, right? It's just basically like talent versus talent kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The one big thing about Survivor Series that they typically do is they'll have like a 5-man tag team match where they'll have 5 Raw competitors against 5 SmackDown competitors, and they would face off against each other. And I think at the most recent ones, they would have 5 women and 5 women from both brands as well.
And then 5 men,
and they'd kind of do that. I would really like to see, and just get your opinion on this too. I'd really like to see a mixed tag, like a 6-on-6 men women mixed tag instead of 2 separate matches, and they can do that brand, and then it really shows your whole talent in the brand.
Well, look at Judgment Day, right? So you can hopefully have something to match Judgment Day from the SmackDown side if they go down that route, right? Like maybe Kross gets another, because does Scarlett wrestle?
It's a good question. I don't know, because I don't remember seeing her in NXT. She definitely didn't do anything when she came up to WWE with him. Definitely not when she was on Raw. I can't remember her last name. It's like Scarlett Boudreaux or something, or Boudreaux or something. I can't remember how to pronounce her last name, but yeah, I think, you know, there's always the opportunity that she there could be something down the line, and they need some more female talent on SmackDown's roster. So
especially because how like Kross came in with like the eerie like the watch and stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like it's great. Like if Bray's gonna come back, I can see him like being with them because it's just kind of like dark and eerie. Or he could join Judgment Day. I don't know. Judgment Day could use some. I mean, they got Ripley, but I don't know if she's fully healed yet.
I
'Cause
don't
she
think
really
she's
hasn't.
ready to go physically yet. I think she's gonna lead from afar, but she seems like she's gonna take over as leader of that group. It looks like to me.
Yeah, I really hope that somehow they create that. Is it Demon Finn Balor? Is that what it
Oh,
was? Like
Demon
that
King.
seems like a
Yeah,
yeah,
I
that'd be
hope we
cool.
see it
Hey,
again. We haven't seen Demon King Finn Balor probably since he faced off. I could be wrong about this, but I was gonna say probably since he faced off against Rollins for the Universal title and was the first Universal title holder when the belt got developed. And he was Demon King, and that was really cool. I really like.
Then you should.
I really like when his Demon King persona is out there because he did really well in NXT with that persona. He had some really good battles against Kevin Owens too. So I mean I would love to see him go back to that character. I think he has to fight Edge like that.
Yeah, and then throw Bray over on SmackDown, then have those two fight each other at Survivor
That would be
Series.
sick if we had
Wouldn't
those
that be
two.
awesome?
That would be awesome. No, just out of thought here. So we have a little bit developed for Clash already. We don't have a full card yet, but what we
Two
do
matches so
have is
far.
just the 2 SmackDown matches, right?
Well, yeah, I guess so because it's Drew versus Roman, and then Baszler versus Liv.
We don't have any Raw matches yet. So
Not yet.
So I wonder if there will be a Bayley and Bianca Belair
Belair?
match because they kind of seem like they're leading up to this, but on the other side, it'd be new talent. It's a fresh face, if Bayley goes into a feud with Belair, and I hope Bayley wins because then we can see a new champion. But what I have what I suspect is on Monday with this whole tag tournament thing that they're doing, I think we'll probably see Dakota Kai and Io Sky tag together for those
And be part of the
titles.
faction, yeah.
And I think we may see a new kind of like a similar idea to the Bloodline where we'll see them pull the tag team titles and the women's Raw title and hold
that'd be
all the
cool.
gold on one show. But only on one show, right? We don't see all the gold from the whole WWE. We'll just see it from Raw. And we'll kind of have similar like whole like evolution idea. And the reason why I think maybe something like that is like if you think about it, like Ric Flair was part of the Four Horsemen and he was like really talented at that time, and then when he came in to be part of Evolution, he was like kind of the mentor to the rest of them, and it was like the fresh faces and the new faces of the company. And I kind of see Bayley kind of doing that. She was part of the Four Horsewomen, and now she's bringing in new talent from NXT who may be like the new faces of WWE, and she might mentor them, and we'll see like the new Evolution kind of similar
On the
idea.
females.
Yeah.
Be kind of cool.
And especially with Triple H like being part of creative, he could really help them because he was so involved with Evolution, right? So
Yeah, and then that'd be kind of cool. So hoping that means they can hopefully fix the women's division on the SmackDown side. Then they can have SmackDown women's titles.
yeah.
And then those guys can face off at Survivor Series. So
Curiosity: do you think that Sasha and Naomi make a comeback tomorrow? Tomorrow.
they just announced the tag titles on Monday. They said that now they said that the tournament's starting on Monday. So I
Right. So
don't
it's
know
gonna
what that
be
means.
it's gonna be a while until.
Yeah. So
Does this
but
tournament crown new champions, or does this tournament lead to 2 teams facing off at Clash, or did they not explain that?
I'm probably more the latter there. I'm sure they're probably going to push it all the way till Clash because they'll probably because like I just saw a tweet from Asuka saying she wants to be tag title, but who's going to be her partner kind of thing. So I'm sure they'll create it. Probably like I can see like the 2 factions fighting because like I wonder if they ideally thought it'd be Bianca, Sasha and Naomi being a faction versus. Oh no, I guess Becky was supposed to be in there. Never mind, but Becky got hurt. So yeah, I can certainly see like Asuka and Bliss being that, right? And then of course Dakota Kai and Izzo Sky.
And then I
being
think
the other.
Doudrop and Nikki ASH will probably be another
So that really outside of that, Sasha and Naomi is the only one I can think of, right? And I
But
don't
since
even
there's
know.
only one set of titles, does that mean the SmackDown talent can come over and do?
Good question.
Because
I wonder. Because they said so. The wording is it's going to start on Monday, so I'm wondering if they're going to do Raw side and SmackDown side, whatever they decide to just do. Right? They don't have a lot. Because I also realized that on Friday, Lacey Evans wasn't in that gauntlet match. I realized that.
Oh yeah, she's back off TV again.
So
Well,
I
I
don't know
mean,
what they're
she
gonna
hasn't been
replace.
facing off against anyone over the last few because she keeps refusing to fight. So
Yeah, I wonder what they're going to do with her. I mean, she's been in the industry for a while, so I hope they can figure it out for her. Because that's the one question I have is like, other than those three tag team, the only legitimate one really is Doudrop and Nikki ASH, right? The other two are brand new with Bliss and Asuka, and then of course Izzo Sky and Dakota Kai being the other. So it'd be really interesting to see how that unfolds. And of course, we have the other big thing too is this whole Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins thing too. Like, are they staying together? I saw a really interesting picture that was posted by Drew McIntyre, one of the live shows, that Dawkins turned heel on Ford with Drew, which I have no idea. I don't really know where the picture's from, but it seemed like it was from one of the live shows. So
that could be a thing because they do a lot of like how do you say it? They kind of like test things out during live shows, and they test things out doing like dark matches. So like dark matches being when the cameras turn off on Raw, they might do another 2 matches or something. They may try to test something like that out to see how the fans react to the split, and if the fans don't like it, then maybe they won't.
They keep them together.
They keep them together. But on Raw, he did face off against Rollins on his own, right?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, so and
which I can see starting it, because how it worked out was that they were supposed to do rock paper scissors, and the winner was going to face.
And then he just
Rollins.
ran in the ring, right?
He gave him his cup, and then he ran into the ring. So I'm not sure how Dawkins, because it was interesting because once Rollins won the match, he was like, Ford was hurt, like was like trying to stand up, and then Rollins was going to go for another curb stomp. And it took a while for Dawkins to come back. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't immediate. Like, it was delayed. Maybe Dawkins was in the back. Obviously, we don't see the full picture, but like, I was like, how is Rollins able to set up this much of a setup before potentially hitting with another curb stomp? And then Dawkins did come in and save him, and Rollins ran away. So we'll see. Like, I'm curious how that's gonna turn out on Monday. But I have to say, like even with the weak roster they have on Friday, it was a really good show. Some really good matches, and now Shinsuke Nakamura is going to face Gunther, and I can actually see Nakamura winning.
Is that Clash, or is that next week? No,
that's next week. So I can sort of see Gunther losing, because the guy got the belt way too fast, in my opinion.
He did, and I think Triple H probably sees that too.
So hopefully Nakamura gets it, then him and Gunther feud for a bit, and maybe it goes all the way to Clash.
And then maybe he wins it back at Clash, kind of thing.
I think since I've been watching, which is just after WrestleMania, I haven't seen the IC title and Intercontinental title on a main event, on a PPV event.
Because they buried Ricochet, who had it for a long time, and we were even saying, like, back at like WWE Backlash, we said it at Money in the Bank, we said it at Hell in a Cell. We kept saying, like, where is Ricochet? Why is Ricochet not on the card? Why are they having like the US title on the card, but they're not having the IC title on the card? And
even SummerSlam they didn't have.
They didn't.
So there was every other belt except obviously the women's tag, but that one didn't exist at the time.
But I wonder if it's because they don't believe that Gunther. Yeah, thank you. That Gunther's ready for like main event, like.
No, like he could barely attack R-Truth and not screw up. So like, it's just he was the Vince guy, right? This prototypical like big strong guy, right? And he basically faced jobbers and then got the Intercontinental Championship.
I'm pretty sure Triple H brought in Nakamura from Japan. I'm pretty sure he did. And Nakamura, when he came to the WWE, he started in NXT. Usually when they bring
Well-
talent in that's independent or from another
Yeah.
company,
And
they
the fans
put them
love
in
him.
NXT. Yeah, the fans love him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I don't see why they like you don't give it to him and then like let him work with Gunther to see if maybe they can actually make something there. Because Lashley actually said he wants to face Gunther at Survivor Series. If
Oh,
it gets
okay.
if it gets to that point, we'll see. I mean, I don't even know if Kross gets the WWE title. I can't see Lashley staying as the U.S.
Not for
champion
that
for that
long.
long. You got to have Lashley up in the top of the card fighting for that belt,
I can
right?
see Lashley and Drew being the two champion holders. I would really like to see Sheamus being given a chance too. Maybe to
That
be
too, but
back
there's
into
also
that.
also Rollins too. Like I think
Rollins.
Rollins deserves a shot too, and I also wonder because he was like he said on Monday, I can focus on Reigns. I wonder if he'll try and screw him over at Clash,
It's possible.
right? To get the belts off of him, right? Because obviously I think he knows he can't beat Roman, but what if he gets the titles off of him by screwing him
And
over?
then he can beat somebody else.
Then he can beat somebody else,
Because
right?
he is
I
like
think
that ultimate opportunist, right? He'll look for a way that
Yeah.
he can do that. They call him the architect for a reason.
Well, I mean, like he said specifically Roman Reigns. It doesn't necessarily mean he's going to fight him.
Yeah.
Like I think so. There's Kross now. There's Rollins. So I'm kind of curious how what's going to happen to our friend Roman, right? And then I think a triple threat match actually makes the most sense because then, for example, Drew can pin Kross. He gets the belts, and then Roman doesn't have to be pinned, and he can keep his streak of not being pinned. I think since 2019. I think it's the last time he's actually been pinned. So that's kind of incredible. But we did say we were going to talk Marvel, but we ran out of time. So there's lots of exciting things happening in the Marvel
Well,
universe.
I will say one thing. I watched the first episode of Loki yesterday, so I'm getting a little further and further and further into everything, and I thought it was pretty
Yeah.
good. Pretty good.
Wait till you get to the end. So actually, I'm actually really happy that you have started to watch it because it's going to really show you what's going to happen with some of the exciting announcements of the Avengers
Right.
coming up in 2025, 2024, 2025. 2025 are both are in the same year actually. Kang Dynasty is in the May, and then in November is Secret Wars, which is going to be super exciting. So yeah, watch that, and then we'll have a good chat. We'll try and have a good chat about Marvel because I think there's some exciting things happening moving forward in the Marvel universe. But well, we're at the end of our episode, so thank you, spectators, for watching. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe on YouTube, leave a written review, and please give a written or star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And as I always say, my beautifully bearded friend, thanks so much for taking some time to chat with me.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, everybody, and we'll catch you at the next one.